It's crazy that we've gotten a Venom trilogy before Superman, Batman, or Wonder Woman. But that's right, Venom The Last Dance marks the conclusion of the Venom trilogy, and as messy, stupid, and inconsequential as these films have been, I've had a lot of fun with the Venom franchise since it started when I was in middle school. My main problem with the franchise, even from a young age, was that it was never rated R and never fully took advantage of the Venom character. But as I've gotten older, the quality of the films hasn't necessarily gotten amazing, but it's undeniably a good time. And I'd have to say the same thing about Venom 3. It sits in the middle of the pack of these Sony Spider-Man universe movies. It's not as disjointed as Madam Web or uninteresting as Morbius, so it fits perfectly within the trilogy as something that just works and is fun.
What? We're Venom!
Before we get into more of my thoughts on Venom The Last Dance, over 98% of you guys who watch these videos aren't yet subscribed, so if you don't want to miss out on more reviews, hit that button. But without wasting any more time, let's get into it. I feel like out of the average audience member, I enjoy the Venom movies a lot more. I understand it's not high cinema, but I have a really fun time with it. But just like the first two Venom films, Venom The Last Dance also struggles with a very lackluster plot. Null is overall behind the main events that happen in the film. He was revealed in a lot of the promotional material, and a lot of people were just like, is he just a post-credit scene or is he actually in the movie? I can confirm to you that he is actually a part of the plot of the film, but nothing massive. And I think for a lot of fans, it's gonna work just enough. He's gonna suffice in his role, and no one's gonna be disappointed, but no one's also gonna be like, holy shit, Null was so cool. But the main conflict of most of this movie is adjacent to Null. Because the synopsis on Google itself says Eddie Brock and Venom must make a devastating decision as they're pursued by a mysterious military man. I know that shit does not sound interesting to you. The main antagonistic figure is played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, and he's good for what he's supposed to do, but he's also not given that much. And aside from just the antagonistic figures, the main thing that moves this story forward is a road trip-esque movie, and it is very, very funny. Eddie and Venom have some great banter. This is the best that Tom Hardy is as this role, and I'll get more specifically into the characterization later in this video. As mediocre as the story is, though, the plot does allow for some great action set pieces. It feels like the perfect amalgamation of the first two films. I think it's more like the first film in that there's actual set pieces going on consistently and kind of building up to the story, whereas the second one really only had one big fight, which was at the end. And the final act in this movie is like the craziest Venom comic you can think of come to life. But to me, at least post watching the movie, a lot of it does get dwindled down just by imagining what you could have had with a little bit more time. As a Spider-Man fan, as someone who is really interested in Venom, it does take advantage of the Venom lore and trying to understand this world of the symbiotes, but it is also really frustrating in real time because you're like, why are they doing this in the final movie? We could have built up to this from the end of the first film, to be honest. And on a technical level, this has the best CGI and just visual effects in general of the entire trilogy, honestly, of the entire Sony Spider-Man universe. The score is good, but the cinematography itself does look just very dark for some reason. Like, literally everything is dark, not just big action set pieces. There's scenes broad daylight in the desert, and it looks way too dark. But the biggest way this movie stands out from the first two Venom films and just the Sony Spider-Man universe movies in general is that I really enjoyed the B and C plots of this film. I won't get into specifically what they are, but they do add a decent amount of human depth to not only Eddie, but just this world around them. And it makes it feel lived in while most of this movie does take place on like a desert road trip type of thing. There's some random like side character family thing going on. It adds a lot of depth to Eddie himself. And it also makes the ending just weigh a lot more. And I won't lie to you guys, I did tear up at the end of this movie. I can't believe I'm admitting this. I'm not saying this movie is emotionally or thematically amazing, and I'll talk about by far the biggest problem that this movie has in just a second here. But like I said at the top of this video, I've been watching these movies since I was in middle school, and from seeing random fan art of Tom Hardy as this character to theorizing about Carnage, and then finally seeing this amalgamation of just symbiote mayhem on the screen, it felt so full circle. In the last moments, they were so corny, they were so over the top. They were so cheesy and stupid that it just felt like the cherry on top to a trilogy that I know isn't perfect, but I genuinely do have such a fun time with these movies and Tom Hardy as Eddie and Venom. Before I give you guys my final score of the movie, I do want to talk about my problems with the very end of this film. I'm not going to be doing like very deep spoilers, but if you want to go in knowing absolutely nothing, you can skip to the timestamp on the screen right now. But again, I won't be going into more than I've already talked about in the video so far. The main thing I have to say is that I could have honestly watched another act of this film. The main plot of this movie revolves around Null basically sending these goons in to track Venom because he has this thing that links him to Null's existence and his escape. Obviously, Venom defeats them. I won't tell you how because that's a spoiler. But then the movie kind of just winds down and ends. And I really would have loved to see a whole other act of Null taking matters into his own hands because the intro was so epic. It felt like something carved out of stone, like this mythical, magical creature that's the beast above them all. We've already seen what symbiotes are capable of throughout the entirety of this film. And then it kind of just winds down and we get a conclusion on Eddie and Venom, but not necessarily the overall story of these symbiotes that this movie is so built on. So it really felt underwhelming to me. And again, this movie was only like an hour and 30 minutes. We could have gotten 2 hours, 2 hours 15. I would have sat through it. This shit absolutely flew by for me. The action is paced pretty well to where you feel like you're moving through the story really quickly. There's enough plots to where it does feel like a montage at times, which is a good and a bad thing. But again, it just ends so abruptly and I just wanted so much more. At the end of the day, Venom The Last Dance isn't something amazing that'll blow you away, but if you had even a decent time with the first two films, this is one that caps off the story in a really, really entertaining way. Overall, I'm gonna give Venom The Last Dance a 6 out of 10. If you've seen or want to check out this movie, let me know what you think of it in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.